Hello everyone in the chess world. Today I want to start a new section which is really curious for me. These are positions that are hard to evaluate even for the engines. In a general sense, of course, I'm guessing that with the best computer ever and leaving each position like at least half an hour or an hour, better, more precise results will probably come. But this position that I have here, this was from a really old game of mine, is such an example because I had the black pieces here. So, well, I'll ask you to pause the video and think immediately because I'll soon offer you like two options. But for those who want the bigger challenge, let's first, do it without any hint. So pause the video and think. So, okay, let us go now. I assume some of you probably thought for some minutes and probably came to some conclusion. So now I'll give you the two options. I'm sure most of you probably saw, 8 takes before is the logical way to start to profit from some tactical shots that are available here. Of course, the only answer is going to be 8 takes before, of course, what my opponent played, in case someone is just not too sure about how to win with queen takes before. Well, of course, we can see this big pin here, and the problem is that bishop takes before, taking the queen will always come with check, so we could just go, I don't know, knight on e6, just using the pin, and if bishop on e3, even queen b6 probably works here, but I don't know, knight d7, right? And white can never start by taking this because, thinking about, okay, I'm also hitting the queen, but of course, again, we'll take it with check. Yeah, might seem pretty obvious. It's cool always to, check on the line. So after 8 takes before, this is the position where I want to offer you the two options, this game is like 15 years old, but I'm pretty sure that I only saw one of those options. So the two options will be rook takes a1, check. This is one of the options, and I think that this is, an option. Probably the one I missed. And the other will be the knight takes e4 move, which is what I played. And, well, you'll see that knight takes e4 is a much more human move than rook takes a1, but still, I want to give you all the possibility to, consider which one of those moves will be better. So pause the video and think. Well, as I spoiled in the intro of the video, the truth is I'm not even sure which one of those two variations is actually better. Because I've left this position analyzing with some engine for roughly 10 minutes, and the conclusions were not so clear, and this was really curious for me. Every time this thing happens, it's curious for me, because, okay, let us first see what I played. I play, again, knight takes c4 is a much more forcing line and much more human, because you can see I'm threatening everything. I'm threatening, mainly the queen, of course, but, hitting the knight, hitting the bishop here, rook takes a1. Because of all of these reasons, of course, knight takes e4 was the forced move. And what I had seen is what I played, bishop takes before. This is pretty typical in the sense that, we have this spin over the queen and, queen takes before, the most obvious move will simply receive, of course, rook takes a1 check, winning immediately. So what my opponent played was rook takes a8, this is the only move, and after bishop takes e3 check and knight takes e3, I played obviously f6, white's bishop is hitting my rook, so I just, break that threat, and at the same time I'm threatening the bishop, so I win the tempo, and after bishop on a3, I went for the logical bishop on f5, so this invading rook is now, I'm offering the exchange. I think my opponent did well in rejecting that exchange, and he played rook to a2. And the thing is, okay, I eventually won this game, but the evaluation here was kind of clear advantage for black. Let us say some roughly, I think it was 1 point of advantage according to the engines. Now, it's so curious for me to see that in general terms, I think that Rook takes a1 instead of knight takes on e4, going back here, check first. It's probably better objectively, but I'm still not sure, because you'll see that how there are so many lines in which the evaluation is the same. It's always like a clear advantage for black. But the numbers are, they look alike so much. So, well, as I said, during the game, I saw knight takes e4. I mean, what an attractive move, right? I mean, it's not so, it's all forced. So I didn't have to see any ramifications, as we will see in this more normal computer line. So after the computer suggests to take the rook, and after queen takes, this knight on e6. So much more just a positional play by black. I think that, I mean, it's interesting. The computer is actually seeing the fact that my development is extremely better than white's. So instead of going for this tactic and winning material and creating the chaos, computer just wants to take advantage of that. But let us see the lines, because, I mean, there are like 4 or 5 different lines here for white. Again, most of them, according to the computer, will result in clear advantage for black. But, for example, I think that I eventually saw that queen takes e5 will be a main line and a pretty human move. The computer showed me that if knight takes on e6, because this seems like a logical way to play for black, right? For white. We cannot play bishop takes before check now, because, I mean, they're going to answer c3. We have to before recover the piece. So after the logical bishop takes on e6, it's funny because, well, the computer is now recommending bishop on d3. The funny thing is, okay, computer did show me that queen takes e5 is a blunder. This is not playable, because now bishop takes before check is, well, we have all the tactics that we need. I mean, of course, white cannot block this with bishop on d2, as we will just take it, and white cannot even recapture, because the knight has, of course, the responsibility of keep protecting the queen. And the other thing is, c3 is now, of course, losing, because, yeah, we go to the intermediate queen takes e5, knight takes, bishop takes, and then we'll take the knight and be completely winning. So going back, we were in this line after bishop takes on e6, instead of queen takes on e5 blunder, bishop on d3 will be the computer move, just, well, and giving up this b4 pawn with check. And in here, well, of course, c3 now is unplayable because the bishop is hanging on d3, but the king on e2, and I think h6 was even the recommendation by the computer. This line, again, clear advantage for black. I think it's a slightly higher, like plus 1.1, something like that. Now, going back to, let us go from the beginning. I said in here, remember, in here I played knight takes on e4, but we were checking this rook takes a1 by the computer. After queen takes, knight on e6. So we said instead of knight takes on e6, queen takes e5 was an interesting move. And again, this was a complex line. And again, we'll see that almost in every line, black is just slightly, like clearly better. Queen on a7. This seems to be the key move of the computer, and I like this because this it's a logical consequence of the concept that the computer seems to be offering here. Just using development, and well, in this case, instead of exchanging pieces, since white lacks development, why not keeping the queens on, looking to maybe even attack the white king? So I think this position, which is again not easy to analyze for the computer. I think eventually computer was giving bishop on d3 here, and maybe this line with queen on a7, computer was trying to give me 1.3, like a clear advantage closer to winning. But again, the evil seems to, yeah, it was going up and down. And another detail is, because when I saw this position shown by the computer, shown to me by the computer, I wasn't looking at queen and a7 first. Much more human will be, well, what about if I take the queen? I mean, am I not winning here? Maybe that was initially my thought, because after knight takes, well, I'll take the bishop. Of course, there is knight takes on c6, but it's curious. In here was, again, computer offers me two lines, both clear advantage. So I could play bishop takes c5 to answer, well, again, now if they take my rook, I can play bishop takes before check, right? So, I mean, pawn takes, rook on e8, just hitting the pawn, and f3. Clear advantage for black, maybe like 1.1, 1.2. And there is the alternative in here, instead of bishop takes on c5, well, what about if I play rook e8? I just want to go away with the rook from the attack, still having the strength, even stronger now on the e file. And the computer was just like, okay, I'll just take the bishop and again play f3. And once again, clear advantage for black. So basically, absolutely every one of the lines that I show you were basically roughly between 0.9 to 1.1 for black. Except this line that I mentioned that ended up with queen on a7. Computer seems to think that this is closer to almost winning for black. But again, from all this big chaos, I mean, I'm always interested in positions that are rough for computers to evaluate, because this is one of my personal main problems. I've proven through the years that calculation itself, which is often a big problem for a lot of players, is not my main problem. Usually I'm able to calculate, I can see blindfold and stuff, but evaluating correctly the positions, that's a big problem for me, because, and that is key, because we need that to be able to, well, tell the difference and choose between one variation or the other. So in a way, it might sound stupid, but it's a little satisfying for me to see that even while the computer, sometimes the engines have trouble with the same thing, they're able to see almost every move, but they need to evaluate correctly. That's the thing. And that is one point in which sometimes the human is able to outplay the computer. I think a lot of you probably saw this before. You're watching, for example, a game between two super GMs, and you're seeing the evil, because you're seeing the evaluation at the same time. So let us say Carlsen spends like 20 minutes thinking about a move, and you have like the engine is saying, okay, option 1, option 2, and option 3. Pretty much the same. Well, Magnus plays the fourth move. Well, yeah, and after some minutes you leave the engine thinking, and then the computer will confirm finally that Magnus option was the best. So computer was already seeing absolute every variation, but what the computer understood in the end was that they should evaluate the position differently. So I'll be showing much more of the examples like this. This is really interesting for me, so I'll be doing this again. So thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next time.